Hello, this is Enrique from dnsimple. Today I'm going to walk you through our dnsimple-php API client and how you can use it to automate your domain management by showing you how to register a domain programmatically. I will do this in our sandbox environment where you can play with our API at no cost. The sandbox environment behaves with a few exceptions exactly like our production environment. Let's Encrypt certificates cannot be issued in the sandbox environment, nor do the domains that you register be registered for real. You don't need to worry about spending any money on your domain registrations on the sandbox environment, as this is all pretend. If at any time during this video you want to check out dnsimple by yourself, check the link in the description or visit dnsimple.com. Okay, let's get started. First, we will head to our sandbox environment at sandbox.dnsimple.com. Once you log into your sandbox environment, you will see your dashboard with all the domains you might have registered already. On the top right, you will see an account link. Clicking on it, you'll be on your account page. At the bottom of the left menu, you will see the automation link. Once we follow this link, we will see our API tokens, if we have any, webhooks, applications, and developer applications. For today, we're only going to look into API tokens. So let's do that and create a new API token for our sample code. We click on New, and we're shown a form where we can name our token. This will help you in the future to know which token you're using where. Use names that you remember easily and associate to the applications you're working on. So let's name our token PHP tutorial and let's generate it. Now we can see the token and we're prompted to save it somewhere, as it will not be displayed afterwards again. I'm not going to close the browser tab for the moment, as we will need the token later. I could save it quickly in some note-taking app, but I'm not going to do that for this example. Now that we have everything we need to start working on our PHP tutorial, let's start our IDE. I'm using PHP Storm from JetBrains, but you can use whichever IDE you prefer. When I started my career as a developer in the 90s, I actually started with PHP. Anyway, let's continue. Inside of PHP Storm, I have a file called PHP tutorial, and just to see that it's working, I'm going to add a simple console output so that we can see that it's actually working. Okay, good. The first thing we want to do is to create an instance of our dnsimple client, which is our entry point to the API, and we will pass in our token and the base URL that will be pointing to our sandbox environment. Now the token is the token we generated earlier on the web interface. So let's go back to our browser, copy the token, and now paste it. With this, we should have all we need to interact with sandbox environment and be authenticated. The first thing we're going to do is to get our account ID and store it in a variable. For this, we will be using the identity service calling whoami. Depending on which credentials you use, you will either have an account or a user object attached to the result of the operation. As we're using an account token, we will get the account ID from the account and we're going to write it to the console for the moment so that you can see what's going on. Now that we have the account ID, we can go and check for a domain so that we can register it. Let's check one that should not be available, although you never know as you're in the sandbox environment. Anyways, let's see if google.com is available. Okay, good. It's not available. All right, let's see if we can find a domain that is available so we can register it. PHP tutorial should be fine. Let's see. Okay, great. It's available. Before we go on and register this domain, we need to create a contact that is associated to the domain we're creating. When it comes to contacts, it's really important that your contact information is up to date, just in case you get contacted by ICANN, the organization that oversees domain names for most top-level domains. I recommend not using the email address of the domain you're registering right now, but use an email address that you've been already using up until now. Okay, let's create the contact. We're going to call the contact service create contact method passing in our account ID and the attributes of our new contact. So first, we're going to create those attributes. My name, my last name, not my address, nor my city, in the province of, postal code, my country of residence, my email, and finally, phone number. And now we're going to call our create contact endpoint with the account ID and the attributes that we just created, and print out the ID of the newly created contact so that we can see the result of the operation as well. Now with the contact created, we can register our domain. For this, we're going to call the register endpoints register domain method and add the account ID, domain name, and the registrant ID, that is the newly created contact ID. Our domain is now created, so we can go ahead and for the time being, just list the domains we have. I have a few domains registered already, so let's see if we can find ours. There it is. Nice. Let's now add a zone record to our domain. As a simple example, I'm going to add a CNAME record to point our domain to the dnsimple blog. We're going to use the zones endpoint, passing the account ID, the domain name, and the zone record attributes. The name is going to be blog, the type CNAME, and the content blog.dnsimple.com. Remember when I said earlier that some functionality of the sandbox environment is limited? This is one such case. Even though we added a CNAME record pointing to blog.dnsimple.com, this configuration will not work. Anyways, now that the zone record has been created, let's list the zone records for this domain. For this, we're going to call the zones endpoint again, but this time the list zones method. And there they are. Today I've given you a little glimpse of what you can do with our PHP API client. Registering domains, creating zone records, but also how you can use a sandbox environment to get you started with your domain automation. Please do check our developer documentation to see all the endpoints and actions you can perform to automate your domain management using dnsimple. We also have comprehensive support articles that will help you to dig deeper into what you can do with our services. I also want to point you to our dnsimple-php cheat sheet where you can find sample code of what we've done today and some more. Please do reach out if you need any help or are planning on using our services at support@dnsimple.com. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.